Hello and welcome back to the Reconnection Revolution. Today we are thrilled to be joined with somebody I met several years ago now. I won't age us. The inimitable Maz, who works with leaders and whole organisations to make them more interesting and give them the X factor. And you know that here at Celeste Halliday headquarters, we are all about connection. And I am fascinated to find out the genius in what Maz does to help people connect with themselves and with other audiences. So let's kick off. Welcome, Maz.
Thank you so much. Imitable is quite a difficult thing to say.
I was starting to say it and regretting it as soon as I started.
There are certain words that you think, I'll park that one and never use it. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast, your vodcast, because you're not short on people. So thank you very much for inviting me along. I'm very happy to be here.
It's such a pleasure. And I actually remember when we met at Thought Leaders Business School, where we were learning about how to take the message that we felt we had for the world and, you know, craft and figure out how to get it out there, how to put it out. And so we were actually in exercise, I don't know if you remember this, where we were standing in a circle, and I think you just joined, and we had to face each other and pitch, just cold pitch to each other what we did and how we did it. And I remember it vividly that the second that we connected, you made such an impression on me because you were just your complete, authentic self. And it didn't really matter what you said as far as I was concerned, because it wasn't the part that counted, right?
I am myself. I know that's a strange thing to say, but people who I worked with and that I'm now really good friends with would say to you, she's exactly the same, sitting having a gin as she is, running, Big Brother or The X Factor or any of those shows. And I think that's very important in life. People mix up dull with professional. They mix up cold with professional. And then you can be warm and a lovely leader and fun and funny and have a nice time and still be very professional. You can laugh with your teams and still be very professional. So I tend to just be myself because I don't really know what else to do, in all honesty. I wouldn't really know where to begin.
But fascinating, because you were working in an industry that is known for creating things, creating people, creating personalities, and probably has a bit of a reputation for people being inauthentic or fake. And so whether that's true or not, or just an external perception, but really things like Big Brother, why they became such a global success was that we were putting people in and they were being themselves and we were watching them be themselves.
Yeah, especially on Big Brother, people used to say, what is it? And I would say it is a sincerity competition. It genuinely is. If you are genuinely and sincerely yourself, you will probably win it. If you pretend to be someone else, we call it leakage. So on reality shows, you can pretend to be someone for maybe, if you're really good at it, 2 weeks, but you're going to be really, really good at it. You start to leak. Your real nature comes through.
It
If you just
does.
are utterly yourself, audiences connect with you and they like you. So if you think about Simon Cowell and Mel B, the reason we like them is they're very honest people. You can trust them.
Yeah.
You can trust Mel. So I worked with Mel for a few years and she would turn up early. She was perfectly prepared. She was really, really, professional. If you wanted her there at 6 a.m, even, a month after she'd given birth, she'd be there at 6 a.m, beautifully dressed, makeup done, ready to rock and roll. And you like her because if she turned up at 6 o'clock and the team weren't there till 7 or a quarter past 6 and she was waiting, she'd come and see me. She'd say, your team were late. It was very unprofessional. And I would say, okay, I'll sort that out. and then the team would be there at 6 o'clock the next day. She wasn't cross. She was, I wasn't cross. The team were a bit cross because they'd been found out, but they would be on time. And it meant that she wasn't harboring any ill towards us. I wasn't thinking, she's really moody, what's wrong with her? And the team weren't turning up for everyone else late because they knew they had to be on time. So I like people who are very honest, and I think we all do actually. We like people who are genuinely themselves. What you see is what you get, because we feel very safe with them.
And that is leadership, isn't it?
It is. I think it is. I think if you pretend to be someone else, like lots of people think that what I want them to do is be an extrovert. And I say to people, I'm not an extrovert. I have a very gentle voice and I have a very gentle manner. I'm not, I'm not jazz hands. I had a very jazz hands job and I was different at it because I was quite low key in that world. I just got the job done in the background, quietly and kindly and, the best I could. So I think be the best version of you can be if you want to. And if you don't bother. Like, not everyone has to be a great leader. You can just be in the background, not leading and going home early and having a lovely life. And if that's your jam, don't ever feel pressure to be anything other than you. If you want to be really successful, there are ways of doing it.
Yeah. And part of what you talk about is helping people who feel that they or their message is dull be more interesting. And I'm fascinated to hear more about this because I've always really believed in that premise that if you want to be more interesting, you should be more interested. So, those people that I see are great leaders and, some of the super connectors that we're starting to find and talk to, they're people that are very comfortable and at ease with themselves, so that genuine authenticity. And, I talk about it's that noise in the back of your head, the chatter, the projection, the I'm trying to be something. It gets turned down and you can actually then focus out on the other person, where they're at, who they are, and genuinely be present and connect with them. So what do you think about that in terms of the be interested to be interesting?
I think that comes second. I
Yeah?
think that you have to be interesting to get to a point where you're in that conversation. So you
Mm.
have to be interesting. It is not my job to be interested in you, Celeste. It is your job to be interesting. And when you know that, your business and your life changes because you realize that actually no one is paying attention to you at all. You have to earn their attention. If I want you to watch my shows back in the old days before, I did this job, I had to make you want to. I had to make the promo interesting. I had to make the Netflix ad really interesting. And then eventually you get to the show, but you can only get to the show if the preamble was interesting. Now, you can only be in a conversation with someone who is interesting if you're interesting, because otherwise they don't want to know. So you've been at a conference, you say to someone, what do you do? They say something so dull. You go, stay here, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go to the loo. And you go to the loo and you climb out the window and you never ever go to a conference ever again, just in case you bump into that person or you leave.
Climbing out the window is extreme. I can picture you doing
Oh,
it, but
totally. But we kind of metaphorically we do. We think, I
yeah.
can't bear to be in your company. This is so boring. And I only have a certain amount of life in me. And I want to share it with people that are interesting. It's rude to be dull. It's rude to have a meeting
Mm,
that is dull. It's rude to have a conversation that's dull. It's rude not to make an effort to be interesting, I think. Especially if you're in a leadership role. I think it's rude. I think it's, you invite someone to a meeting, it's a boring meeting. I mean, how rude. You know, when was the last time someone said, I wish that meeting was less interesting? I wish that person was less interesting. Said nobody ever. So I think the onus is on us. And then when you are with that person who is interesting, you go, tell me everything about you. I want to know everything.
but you've got to earn the right. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think attention is when you look at language, and I like language because I used to write, scripts. You pay attention, you spend time. It is a transactional process. So I'm not going to give you my attention for free. Of course, I'm not. I've only got one attention. I value it very much. But if you're interesting, I will give you my attention. Now, in return, I want something back. If I'm going to spend time with you, that is transactional. I would like something back for me. And if you don't do that, why would I turn up?
So how do you help people be more interesting?
Think about the white noise in your industry, because people speak in white noise, advertisers advertise in white noise, people have conferences that are white noise. They'll choose a word, inspire, spark, whatever it is. And you think, what's that mean? Like, really? If someone had the conference of failures, we're just going to talk about failure and what you can learn from it. I'd turn up to that one. I'd buy a ticket for that. But, the ones that are explore, spark, they make me feel a bit sad. Uh, if you look at women's advertising for underwear, this is a really good example of white noise, of everyone doing the same thing. It will be two women, so you and me, Celeste, standing next to each other. I've got my arm on your shoulder. We're both in our undies, and we're looking off to the northeast and laughing.
Which we do all the time, Maz, don't we? That's what we do. That's how we spend our time.
When was the last time you said, come on over to my place? No, don't get me a wine. Come in here, take your dress off, stand next to me, look over there, let's have a laugh. Come on then, right, we'll have a glass of wine and go out. It's madness. And yet it is the vision that women are given of some sort of fantasy of what we do before we go out. And you go, no, we get dressed as quickly as possible. You'll say to a friend, I've got a new gin. Do you want one? Yes, please. Okay, who's going to do the Uber? Great, let's go. At no point did a woman ever say, come in here in your undies, stand next to me, look over there. I'm going to tell you a joke. I mean, it's just mad. And yet, that is the advertising we are given all the time, except by really smart companies who think about their audience and think, I don't think that's what they want, actually. And I did some work with the Marketing Academy, and this beautiful lady who works for Body, Boody, the undies. I saw her at the Women in Media Awards, and she said, I just wanted to come and say thank you. I went, right, what for? And she said, you did a talk and you gave that example of women standing next to each other. And she said, I then joined this company and we were talking about what we do as the ad. And she said, let's not do that one because everyone does that. So we really thought about it. We thought very, very hard. And we wanted to connect with our audience. And we did this ad. It was very different. It won pretty much all the awards. She said, just because I had you in the back of my mind saying, don't be dull, don't do what everyone else is doing, you won't cut through. So she did something different and it absolutely worked. I said, it does. Genuinely does. In everything you do, if there is everyone else in the marketplace doing the same thing and you do something different, you have 50% of the attention of the marketplace because there is you and then there is everyone else.
Don't want to capture attention for attention's sake, although in some ways you're saying just be interesting, but it's really about the connection, like what will actually help that person find you interesting, because different audiences, different industries. When you talked about the underwear thing, immediately the iconic ants pants, which many people won't remember because they're younger than us, ad. Did you ever see that? It was Australian. You might not have seen it. If you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you. But basically, back when all the advertising about underwear was very frilly and man fantasy, this particular brand of underpants were cotton, practical, comfortable, colourful, very different. And the ad was about a very hot day in Australia, and a woman reclines on her bed in the heat in her comfortable underwear. And then the camera moves and there's an anteater, an echidna, so one of those spiky kind of, creatures. And she looks down at her leg and there's ants crawling up her leg. Ants Pants was the brand. And they're crawling further and further up her leg, and she looks at the echidna/anteater and she says, "Siccum Rex." Rex being the anteater, and you watch Rex start to take off to remove the ants from her legs. So it was quite shocking for us on TV at the time, but immediate brand connection, and also, that message about this is a different type of woman, because clearly there was a sexual overtone to the whole thing. It's an embodied, comfortable woman in her own skin. It was playful. I cannot tell you the brand value of that business. went up pretty quickly. So it's about the messaging that's going to connect with the audience as well as cut through.
Yes, it's got to be appropriate to your audience, but you connected
Yeah.
with that and you still do. I talk
Yeah.
about sticky information a lot, but what do you remember? When you leave the room and you've done a pitch, what do they remember? What can they repeat about you? If someone said, "Oh, Celeste was in. What was she here for?" Now, it's vital that they can repeat it and say, "Oh, she's got an idea
Yeah.
for a book. It's about connection. And it's, 100 ways to connect to improve your business 100-fold." You go, "Oh, great. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting." Or they say, yeah, why was she here? Why was she had an idea for, she had an idea for a book. Oh, what was it? Oh, it was a book idea. "Oh, right. Okay. Do you want a coffee?" And you're gone. What do they remember when you leave the room? And you've got to
Mm.
make that connection, and it's got to be appropriate to your audience. I don't give vegan sausages to meat eaters. I don't give beef sausages to vegans. Doesn't work, does it? So you need to think, what do you
Mm.
want? What do you want? What do you want? And everyone is different, and you have to cater to all their needs. So when I speak to creatives, I will say my content's been watched 8 billion times, and I once broke X deliberately. So creatives kind of go, "Okay, I'll listen to you." If I'm talking to a room full of CEOs, I will say, "Has anyone heard of Big Brother?" And they go, "Yeah." They go, "The X Factor, Fun Wants a Wife, Dancing with the Stars, The Celebrity Apprentice, Q&A." Yeah, I either made those shows or created them. And you might hate them, but you know them. I probably don't know your show, your brand. I don't know your company, but you know the shows that I used to run. Right. And by the way, we will take 20 million, turn it into 120 million in 6 months, 7 months. Anyone getting those returns for their customers and clients and stakeholders and shareholders? No. Okay, let's start. So it has to connect with your audience. You can't plug a European, plug into an American
That's right.
socket. It has to be appropriate to your audience. But you have to connect, because if you don't, guess what? You haven't.
And how do you teach people to do that?
You lose white noise. So you are, in a very basic way, you are interesting. And that takes a lot of work. So if I said to you, "What do you do?" What would you say?
I work with leaders, teams, and whole businesses to teach them human connection, rehumanize the way they work.
If it's one sentence, I help companies be more interesting
Yeah,
so their
yeah,
clients are more interested in them.
absolutely.
So what do you do? What's the outcome? So every time someone says to you, because this is the most asked question in your life,
What do you do? Yeah,
what do you do?
yeah. It's the
What's the
barbecue
answer?
question,
If
isn't
you don't
it?
have an
Was we're
interesting
always told, what
answer,
do you say at the barbecue? And it is different for different people. Yes, so ours is that we teach human connection to leaders and big businesses so that they have happier, healthier, and higher performing people. Everyone
okay.
wants it.
Who doesn't want that? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a great one line. Most people say something really
yeah.
dull when you say, "What do you do?" And my favourite example is a guy called Peter Fairgray. And I was speaking at the Terry White Kmart conference, and I said, and it was all about your one line, "What do you do?" And at the beginning, he said, "I work in men's health." Okay, that's yeah. And then we went through, do this, do this, do this. We got to the end, and I went back to him. I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I work in men's health. I fix dicks."
It's going to get some cut through. It's clear.
You have to say these 5 words every time someone says, "What do you do?" You have to hear these 5 words back. "That's interesting. Tell me more." "That's interesting. Tell me more." Otherwise, it hasn't connected. If it hasn't
Mm,
connected, it hasn't connected, and you're in trouble trouble. So it has to connect.
yeah.
"That's interesting. Tell me more." "I fix sticks." Or, "I work in men's health." "I work in men's health." You kind of go, "Oh, right. Okay." "I fix sticks." You go, "What? Tell me more."
Absolutely.
Yes, it does make a difference. It's the start of a conversation
Mm.
or it's the end of a conversation, and it has to be the start.
It's putting me in mind of every bad date ever. Like the interesting thing before you can get to be interested. Yeah.
Well, it is, your LinkedIn is your dating app. The first line of your website is the dating app. If it's not interesting, it's my Netflix ad. Alex, your producer, she'll have written, for 100 shows, the 30 words that will make people watch that
Absolutely.
show or not. And if they don't watch it, that's 30 million bucks down the drain. In telly, we sweat those words. We really sweat them. And you've got to do the same in business. If it's not
And we
engaging,
don't treat
no
it with
one's
the
engaged.
same importance, do we? So you think about the actual cost for every second where people's attention is not on that TV. That is the model. Whereas in business, we sort of take it for granted, especially as a leader in a team, a CEO. It's like, well, I'm allowed to just have your attention. I'm expecting you to give it to me. But actually, that's completely wrong.
I think it's
Disrespectful.
rude. Like, I think it's disrespectful. I think if you're having a meeting and you haven't thought how to make that meeting interesting, I think that's rude. You'd never dream of having a wedding and someone say, "Are you having a cake? Are you having music? Are you making it interesting?" You go, "No, do you know we're not going to? Because they're gonna turn up anyway." You
Exactly.
would never dream of doing it. And yet
Mm.
at work, we will invite people to meetings, important clients of ours, and we won't know their coffee order or their cake order. We won't make it different. We won't make it more interesting. We will ask people for money and make it almost impossible for them to give it to us. Deliver a pitch that's so dull that you leave the room and you go, "I don't even know what you were asking me." I did a Zoom recently with a friend of a friend who wanted me to do something, and he spoke for about 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, I thought, and she said, do you mind if I interrupt you for a second? What do you want me to do? What do you want?" And she said, I would like you to help me with some ideas for this conference." And I went, "Yeah, I'll do that." I said, You
Sentence
could have said
one.
that 20
Yeah.
minutes ago. You know that, don't you?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm really sorry. I just got really lost." I said, "I was really bored." Like, if you
Yeah.
weren't a friend of a friend, I would have been gone. I would have said, "I'm so sorry. I've just got a message here. I've got to go." Because, it could have been a 2-minute Zoom. "Would you like to, I would like you to help me with the conference. I have this amount of money. Are you interested?" "Yes." "Great. I'll, send you a contract." Job done. Uh, Very clear.
And our attention spans, they're plummeting, the way that we now engage with technology and the busyness of life, etc. Like we don't have a lot of attention to give. I think people used to be much more polite with their attention and now not, and quite rightly so in many ways. So I think we can't waste time, getting to the point, getting the attention.
Yeah, and it's also, do you want to be known as being dull, or do you want to be known as being interesting? And I'd rather be known as interesting. I'd rather people want to talk to me than not. And I think we've always had a lot of, there is a lot of information out there if you invite it in. You can switch your phone off. You can listen to one news item a day. You don't really need, unless you are working on the news desk, you don't really need to have news 24/7. You can dip in and out. You can switch your phone off and read a book. We have a choice. We choose not to. And then we consume an enormous amount of content and then whinge about consuming a lot of content. Yeah.
Yeah, and we consume the same content over and over. Like we're just in little echo chambers. And so that's not interesting either because everyone's just saying the same thing on and on.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have impartial news. I think it's very important to know what people who disagree with you are saying. I don't particularly like what happened in the States, but I do believe in democracy. So suck it up, princess. Not my choice. I would rather you had something else. But that's a bit like me saying, I would like you to not eat meat. If you like meat, eat meat. I'm not going to tell you what to do. So I think, yes, you buy democracy, you get democracy. But you do have a choice about content. I loved your conversation, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, with the doctor was talking about attention and how much time we
Yeah,
spend, with tech. And I found that really
absolutely.
fascinating because when I worked in television, I didn't own a television, and people would come to my house and go, "It's incredible." I say, "That's my job. It's my job." I
Yeah.
watch the competition, I have to know what they're doing, but I choose not to consume work at home. So I don't, I'll listen to a podcast or I'll read a book or, I'll see friends, but I don't consume, that much content. And it is absolutely a choice. You can put your phone down and go for a walk without your phone. People used to do that. It's a real thing.
It is quite scary how wired we are to our devices, and that even when we are with other people, we tend to have devices with us, in front of us. We're kind of waiting for them to notify us rather than really being present with the other person.
I had lunch with one of my old bosses, and I won't name him because he hates any publicity. But he runs one of the biggest fashion companies. Oh, he started it on Earth. So you definitely know the fashion company. He has the rights to one of the most famous authors on Earth, and one of the most famous toy brands on Earth. And we had lunch, and he had his phone on the table. And I said, "Oh, is your phone broken?" And he picked it up and he said, "No, it's working." I said, "All right, is that a smartphone inside a Nokia?" And he said, "No, it's a Nokia inside a Nokia." He said, "It's the same phone I've had since we met." "All right. How did you get here today?" And he said, "In a taxi." I said, "But what if you got lost?" And he said, "Then I would say to someone, 'Where is the restaurant?' And they would tell me." I said, "So when you do emails," and he said, "Well, strangely, I thought when I was meeting you for lunch, I wouldn't do my emails as you were chatting to me." And I thought, "Right, so you use this phone?" And he said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I use this phone." He said, "You emails in the morning and emails in the evening. If it gets a bit too group email, and he said, I'm very lucky I have an assistant. I say to my assistant, get everyone on the phone in
Yeah,
10 minutes and we just sort it
absolutely.
out in one big call." And he said, "When I'm with you, I'm with you. When I'm doing emails, I'm doing emails. When I'm thinking, I'm thinking." He said, "But I don't need to be connected all the time. I'm not that
Hmm.
important." And I sat in Martin Place in Sydney for about half an hour just thinking about it and thinking, he runs these massive companies
Hmm.
from a Nokia, and I have the iPhone 745, uh, and, an iPad and, you know, a chalkboard and a satellite tower with me because I feel I'm so important that I've got to. And it really made me think. I thought I've just got to change this very bad habit that I've gotten into.
It's become a social norm, hasn't it? We don't even question it. We don't even see them anymore. And I mean, they're very powerful little devices. To your point, they can save you in an emergency, direct you where you need to go, and they can be very connecting if we're the boss of them instead of them being the boss of us. But mostly, that's not how it's working. Mostly, they're pretty disconnecting.
They are carefully designed
Yeah.
for you not to look up. They are very, very, very carefully designed for you to never put it down. And I don't really like that. I don't like that level of control. Yeah.
So, if you were going to think about anyone listening to us today, what tips would you give them? I think you've proven the case for why we should be more interesting and, to be respectful of people's time and attention. Where would you tell them to look first? What should they go and do?
Lose white noise. So all the stuff that everyone else says in TV, your producer Alex will have set through a million edits where people say
Yep.
this. I really want to win this. We
Yeah,
call them the
yep.
no shit Sherlock statements. That you go, well, no shit Sherlock. You're in a competition. Uh, I'm going to give it 110%. You can't. I'm on a journey. I'm a real people person. If you ask anybody who is about to walk onto a stage, onto a podcast, into anything, how they feel, they will say these four words. Absolutely every single person says it. That's interesting. Tell me more. That's what you want to hear. You're not going to hear it. I'm nervous but excited. How are you? I'm nervous but excited. That is the least interesting statement you can make. If you said, I'm terrified because I've never sung in public before. I'm terrified to go into the Celebrity Apprentice because I just don't think I'm as famous as them. I'm,
Mm,
give me something. But when you say the same things, you know, I'm nervous but excited. You will never hear, that's interesting, tell me
yeah.
more. You'll just hear, oh, right, okay. Uh, think about why you are different, why you are unique. What is your unique selling point? So, to the best of my knowledge, I am the only speaker I know who has my unusual background of being a journalist and a comedy writer and a producer and running all these big shows. So, I understand human behavior and understand how to create content, connect with an audience, all the things that I really, really get because that has been my job. Storytelling has been my job for 30 years and watching how people behave. So that is a very unique set of skills. And then you relate it to what you do. So, I connect with audiences and you're going to feel quite confident booking me for your next event when I say 8 billion views of my content. 8 billion. That's gonna make you feel a little bit confident in the fact that I
Very
might be able to connect
reassuring.
with your audience,
Absolutely.
you'd think. Yeah. So what is your white coat? What is going to make me feel very safe giving you my business? Specialists wear white coats in hospitals. You see someone walking around with a white coat and you think either they're a nail technician or they're a specialist. They're one or the other, of course. What you want to be is the specialist. So you want to walk into a room and know that you deserve to be there and have a think about your CV
Mm,
and why it's brilliant, because that gives you incredible confidence. And sometimes we play it down. For women, I always say I've banned the word only and just. I just run this company. I only run, I genuinely had a woman say to me, I just run 5 wineries. I said, right, why did the just go in there? She went, yeah, I don't know why I said that. And said, maybe just say
mm.
I run 5 wineries
It's
because
amazing.
that's
Yeah.
really impressive. And when women insert the words only and just, you are affecting my earning power because you're sort of underplaying
Yeah.
that it's a job. I only run Big Brother. You go, no, I run Big Brother.
Mm,
It's really hard. It's a really hard show to run. It's really, really hard. It's hard to make a show number one. It's really hard because there's only one show that's number one, and there are a gazillion shows out there right now. If you are the number one show, you are doing it right. It is really hard to do. So celebrate what is brilliant about you. Have a unique selling point. Have a different point of view. Know why you need to exist. So when I run workshops with big companies, I do a lot of this. I ask them difficult questions. Why do you need to exist? What would happen if you didn't? What's your unique selling point? Why should I be interested in you? Why should I be interested in this idea? Who's it for? Why are they going to connect with it? Because if they're not, there's no point in me buying it. There's no point in me giving you money or getting on board with it. Uh, so ask yourself all of those questions. And the job of the first line of everything you say is what, Celeste? What's the job of the first line of your LinkedIn or your website or the TV show? As one job,
to have the other person say, tell me more.
yeah, is to get them to read the second line. And
Exactly.
the job of the second line is to get them to read the third line. The job of the third line is to get them to read the fourth line. People get very complicated.
Mm,
Job of the first minute of a TV show, watch the second minute. Job of the first sentence you say to someone is for you to give me your attention, so you listen to the second sentence. Job of the second sentence is for me to deliver the third and to have your attention.
mm.
When you think like that, it's very simple. And yet we don't. We think, I'm going to be really dull and everyone will be interested. You go, they won't.
Yeah.
That's not how the world works.
No. And have you seen any huge transformations? So, have you worked with somebody or a business where they've gone from being dull to uber interesting?
Yeah, every single one.
Yeah.
Every single company I have ever done work with has said, our business, you affected everyone in the company, and we think differently about everything from now on. Our quality control has gone up. And I did something with a creative agency recently, and the woman called me and she said, I just need you to know this because it made me laugh so hard today. So I was in a meeting with the board, and someone said, So before you send it off, can I just check, have you mazified it? And I went, oh
Nice.
my God, you've become a verb in your office. And she
The
said, you're a
reverb.
verb in the office. Have you mazified it is now, is it interesting? Have you been
Yeah.
threatened? Interesting. And I got off the call with her and I literally just sat there for about 10 minutes going, oh my God, this is wonderful. They will get more business. They will get more business.
And that should be in your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I will pop it in at some point. But yes, it's such a simple thing
Mm.
that I do, but no one does it. And I did a thing just before this with some people, and I said, everything I'm going to tell you, you know, but you don't do it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you don't do it. I could tell you what your LinkedIn say right now. And then I started to tell them, they all started laughing. I know, we all do the same thing. Uh, but yes, individuals will tell me it's changed their lives, and businesses will say it's completely changed the way we think.
Yeah.
And I say to people, what do you want your enemies to say about you? What do you want your competition to say? And whatever that is your focus. And for everyone who's pitching, I want them to see your name on the list and to go, oh no, we're up against X. We won't win this.
Mm.
That's what I want to say about you. I want to be
Mm.
terrified of going after you or before you.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I want. And when I work with speakers, I do a lot of work with speakers. That's what I want for them. I want to see your name and go, oh no, I'm going after Celeste. Oh no. That makes me really happy.
I'm sure that's what everyone says all the time.
I make them.
The thing that I think has really resonated for me, many of the things that you've said, but I really love the idea that expecting someone's attention and not putting in the effort is rude. You know, we've lost civility. And I don't mean social niceties, although some of those would be pretty good right now, honestly. We're so individual in terms of what I need, what I think, how I am. It's very, very self-focused. And I think this idea that we're actually, taking somebody's time, some of their life away from them when we take their attention and expect it, and we don't pay respect to that, I actually think it's a very healthy idea. Not that we have to kind of prove ourselves or constantly be performing, much more just that we are paying that person our full respect, presence, and attention, and vice versa.
I had breakfast with a client last week. I really, really like her. I think of her as a friend, and then I kind of think, oh, no, actually, you're a client. But I think of her as a friend. I really like her. And we were having breakfast, and she said, how come your lipstick is still on and mine left with, 4 sausages ago? And I said, oh, it's this, certain brand of lipstick. So I really love it. And as I was walking out, I thought, oh, I'll just go to the store and buy her one. So I went to the store and I bought one. I left it at reception and just said, can you make sure
Nice.
she gets it? And I sent her a text saying, I've left something for you at reception. And she sent me this message. Oh my God, that was such a kind thing to do. I said, genuinely, cost me $40, took 5
Yeah.
minutes. It's fine. It's not a huge big deal. But it kind of is. Afterwards, I thought, oh, that was a kind thing to do. I didn't really think about it because I just thought, I'm passing the store. I could just get it and whack it back. She's at a conference all day. She can't do it, but I can because I've got a little gap in, I've got half an hour because someone had cancelled. And I thought, well, I've got the spare time. I'll do it. How do you be kind and interesting and interested and think about them? My entire career was thinking about them. I just thought about them
That's
all the time. I
exactly
thought,
right.
if you're going to watch my show, what value can I give you? How can I make you really laugh and forget that you
Yeah.
work on a ward or you're a care worker or you're worried about your kids or
Mm-hmm.
dot, dot, dot. How can I take you away from that world and just have a bit of a laugh for an hour and feel like you're catching up with some friends and have a little bit of drama and something silly to laugh about? I love shows like The Celebrity Apprentice because it's just a laugh. It's a big pantomime. It's bonkers. It's celebrities washing dogs' bottoms. It's just fun and funny. And I love that. And I would take that very seriously. And I take this very seriously. I think if I'm turning up for a conference and there are 500 people in the room and they've paid money in the cost of living crisis, I want every second of that to add value. there can be no fat in there. It's got to all mean something, because otherwise it is extremely disrespectful of me, and I will not let that happen. I will not let you leave the room thinking this hasn't been good enough. And if customers and clients are borderline, I say to them, "Don't pay me until after the event." I'm really cool. I am 100% certain it will work, but if you have any doubt at all, I will not invoice you until you write to me and say, "Oh my God, blown away, invoice right now." And it will happen, I will work so hard, it definitely will. But I always give them that get out of jail free card. You think, if you don't think it's good, I'm not gonna charge you, because it matters to me that you think it's wonderful,
Absolutely.
and if it isn't, you shouldn't pay me.
No. And I think that, I think that to wrap up everything we've been talking about, I think that idea that it's respectful to think about being more interesting. We should be doing that in meetings as leaders. We should be doing that in meetings with each other, especially online meetings, which, make me mostly want to stab myself in the face with a fork or something. They're so dull. So I think this idea, it's about entertainment in a way, but what it's really about is valuing the other human's time and attention, and paying respect and care. And I really love that you ended it as well with kindness, because I think it's something so very missing in our day-to-day lives, and particularly our workplaces. It's almost become a bit naff, isn't it, to talk about kindness? But that's at the centre of humanity, empathy, kindness, respect and care. So I love everything you've said, Maz. Thank you for making the time to be with us and with our listeners today. I am sure that they will find huge value in what you've shared. And I've found a beautiful conversation for me as well, just to connect with you. And it's made me think about what we do and how we do it. Pause for thought.
Well, thank you for inviting me on. It's very kind of you to invite me. So thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.